Some betrayals hit so hard they reshape you entirely. And that new version of you knows exactly how to make the betrayer pay. Rain pounded my apartment window like it wanted to break through. Each drop mirrored the storm raging inside me for months. In the dark, my phone glowed, shaking in my hands. That 27-second voice memo still burned in my mind. It took less than half a minute to destroy 5 years of my life and awaken something fierce, something craving justice. My reflection glared back from the window, hollow eyes, a faint bruise on my throat, and a smile that would have scared me yesterday. I wasn't the same woman who fell asleep beside him last night. That woman was naive, shattered, desperate for love. I had a plan now. The engagement ring sat on the coffee table, a glittering like catching flashes of lightning. Tomorrow, he'd wake up and find me gone. But that was just the start. What he said in that voice memo, his true thoughts about me, shared with his sister, demanded more than just walking away. I grabbed my laptop and started typing. The first email would hit at 9 a.m. The second at noon. By nightfall, everyone would see Blake Hernandez for who he really was. When I was done, he'd learn some women don't just break, they become unstoppable and dangerous. Thunder rumbled as I smiled into the dark. He had no clue what was coming. Before we go on, drop a comment with your country. We love seeing where our global family is tuning in. If you're new here, hit subscribe. Your support brings more epic revenge stories to life. Keep listening. 6 months ago, I thought I was living a fairy tale. You'll love this place, Demi, Blake said, his arm around my waist as we stood in our new Riverside Drive apartment. Sunlight poured through huge windows, bathing our first shared home in gold. I leaned into him, breathing in his sandalwood cologne. After 3 years of long distance while he got his MBA at Columbia, we were finally together. It's perfect, I whispered, meaning every word. The hardwood floors shone. The kitchen's granite countertops sparkled, and the bedroom's Hudson River view stole my breath. Blake spun me around, his green eyes gleaming with the same excitement I felt. Perfect for my perfect girl, he said, forehead pressed to mine. I can't believe we are doing this. I couldn't either. After years of video calls and weekend visits, standing in our apartment, our future, felt like a dream. That first month was everything I'd hoped. Blake brought me coffee in bed, his dark hair messy, his college days smile lighting up his face. We cooked dinner together, his hands guiding mine through his grandmother's pasta sauce recipe. We'd fall asleep on the couch, tangled up watching old movies, his jacket draped over me when I woke. I love you, Demi Sebastian, he'd whisper in quiet moments, making my heart flutter like it was the first time. But fairy tales can hide ugly truths. The changes crept in slowly, so subtle I thought I was imagining them. You're wearing that to dinner? Blake asked one night as I stepped out in my favorite yellow sundress, dotted with white flowers. I glanced down, suddenly unsure. What's wrong with it? Nothing, he said, but his eyes held disappointment. It's just Meridian's fancy. Maybe something classier. I swapped it for a black cocktail dress, feeling like I was pretending to be someone else. But Blake's face lit up, and his kiss felt like approval. There's my beautiful fiancé, he murmured, sending shivers down my spine. He'd proposed 2 weeks after we moved in, on our building's rooftop under a starry sky. The ring was perfect, a solitaire that danced with light. At dinner, he ordered for me without asking what I wanted. When I brought it up, he laughed it off. You take forever to decide, he said, squeezing my hand. I know what you like. He ordered salmon. I hate salmon. I ate it anyway, smiling as he talked about his new job, his clients, our future. His comments about my looks grew frequent. My hair was too long, then too short. My makeup was too bold, then too plain. Clothes I'd worn confidently for years were suddenly wrong, too casual, too formal, too bright, too dull. I just want you to shine, he'd say when I went quiet. "You're so beautiful, Demi. I want everyone to see it." But I started wondering what he really saw when he looked at me. The first time he yelled, I froze. "Are you serious?" he snapped, red-faced, holding a credit card statement. $200 at Target? What the hell did you buy? "Groceries," I said, my voice small. "And towels for the apartment." "We don't need more towels," he said, tossing the statement down. I flinched at the noise. "I'm killing myself to build our future, and you're wasting money." "I'm sorry," I said, unsure why I was apologizing. He softened, taking my hands. "You don't think about our future," he said, his thumbs tracing circles on my palms. "I'm not mad, baby. I'm just stressed about money. You get it, right?" I nodded, trying to understand. Blake was working late, pushing to impress at the firm. The stress was eating at him. It wasn't really about the money, it was the pressure. But the next week, I paid for groceries with my own cash, and he still found fault. The bread wasn't his brand. The milk cost too much. I was wasteful, careless, thoughtless. "Make a list next time," he said, arm around me as we unpacked. "Plan the week's meals. Buy only what we need." So, I made lists, careful, detailed ones for every meal, snack, and household item. I showed them to Blake before shopping. He'd nod, kiss my forehead, and say, "You're getting so good at this." His praise warmed me, like sunlight breaking through clouds. But even with lists, I couldn't win. The pasta sauce wasn't his grandmother's kind. I forgot his favorite coffee. The bananas were too ripe, too green, too pricey. "You're not even trying," he snapped one night over the wrong cheese for his lasagna. His words stung like a slap, and tears burned my eyes. "I'm trying so hard, Blake," I whispered, my voice barely there. His face softened, and he pulled me close. "I'm sorry," he murmured into my hair. "I'm just exhausted. I shouldn't take it out on you." I melted into him, relief washing over me. This was my Blake, kind, sorry, loving. The critical, harsh Blake wasn't the real him. It was just work stress, just us adjusting to living together. "I love you," he whispered. I said it back, meaning it with all my heart. But as weeks passed, the kind Blake faded. The fault-finding Blake, who questioned every choice and made me feel like a failure, took over. I started tiptoeing around him, overthinking every word, every move. Would this upset him? Would I disappoint him again? Was I too thoughtless, too careless, never enough? My friends noticed I'd grown quiet. "You okay, Demi?" Luna asked over drinks one night. "You seem different." "I'm fine," I said, the lie automatic now. "Just tired from work." Luna's eyes, sharp from years of friendship, studied me. "Are you happy?" "With Blake?" "The engagement?" Her question threw me. Was I happy? I loved Blake. We were building a life. I was supposed to be happy. "Of course I'm happy," I said, but the words felt hollow. "Why ask?" Luna shrugged, worry in her eyes. "You seem smaller, like you're trying to disappear." Her words stuck with me. Was I smaller? I stared in the mirror, searching for the confident woman who'd graduated top of her class, landed a dream job, and once boldly asked Blake to dance. Where was she? The truth hit slowly, like pieces of a puzzle I didn't want to finish. I was fading with every criticism, every correction. Each time Blake said I was wrong, my confidence shrank. Each fix he demanded made me crave his approval more. But I pushed it aside. Relationships took work, right? Compromise, growth. Blake was making me better, more organized, more thoughtful for our future. The bruises started 3 months before the voice memo that changed everything. The first was an accident, or so I told myself. We argued over something small, now forgotten. I turned to leave, and Blake grabbed my wrist, his grip desperate, bruising. "Don't walk away when I'm talking," he said, his voice low, dangerous. I stared at the white marks his fingers left, a chill settling in my gut. "You're hurting me," I said softly. He let go fast, his face flashing shock, guilt, maybe fear. "Demi, I'm sorry," he said, hands in his hair, eyes wet. "I didn't mean to. I'd never hurt you. You know that, right?" I nodded, wanting to believe him. Blake loved me. It was a mistake, a moment of frustration. But the purple and yellow marks on my wrist told a different story. I hid them with sleeves and bracelets. When Blake noticed, his face crumpled. "I hate myself for this," he said, hugging me. "It won't happen again. I promise." I believed him because the alternative, that the man I loved meant to hurt me, was too much to face. But promises, I learned, break easily. The second time, he blamed me. I'd nagged about dishes, followed him to the living room. He spun so fast his elbow hit my ribs. "If you didn't hound me like a puppy, this wouldn't happen," he said, voice soft, almost sad. "I need space, Demi. You make me feel trapped." So, I gave him space. I let arguments drop, swallowed my words, made myself smaller, quieter, less likely to provoke him. The third time had no excuse, no accident, no reason. I disagreed about skipping his work party for my family, and his hand struck my face, fast and sharp. The sound rang like a gunshot. We froze, my cheek burning, blood in my mouth from my cut lip. "Demi," he whispered, reaching for me, but I stepped back. "Don't," I said, voice trembling. "Don't touch me. Baby, I didn't mean." "You hit me," I said, the words strange in my mouth. "Blake, you hit me." He collapsed onto the couch, face crumpling. "I know," he whispered. "I hate myself for it. Work stress, the pressure, it's driving me insane." His green eyes, once beautiful to me, shimmered with tears and what seemed like real regret. "I'll get help," he said. "I'll talk to someone, learn to handle stress better. This isn't me, Demi. You know it's not." I wanted to believe him so badly. If this wasn't him, maybe we could fix it. Maybe we could be the couple who cooked together, napped during movies, whispered, "I love you," in the dark. "Okay," I said at last. His face lit with relief. "Get help," I added. "Talk to someone. But if you hit me again." "I won't," he cut in, voice firm. "I swear, Demi, I'll never touch you like that again." I nodded, letting him hold me, but a quiet voice in my head warned that promises from men who hit the women they love are empty. I should have listened to that voice, packed my bags, and left that night. But I stayed. I loved him. I believed he'd change. Leaving meant admitting the last 5 years were a lie, and I wasn't ready for that truth. Truth finds you, ready or not. 3 months later, it came in a voice memo Blake never meant for me to hear. That night felt ordinary. Blake was working late again, or so he claimed. I'd stopped questioning him after he called me clingy and paranoid. I curled up on the couch, a cold chamomile tea beside me, trying to read. But the words blurred, my mind stuck on our morning talk. "I'll be late," Blake had said, fixing his tie in the mirror. The light caught his jaw, reminding me of the man I fell for in college. "Big presentation tomorrow. Teams rehearsing." "Okay," I said, my usual response now. "I'll keep dinner warm." He kissed my forehead, a quick, mechanical gesture. "Don't wait up. Could be late." So, I didn't. I ate alone, cleaned alone, read alone. The apartment's silence felt heavy, suffocating. I used to love quiet nights. Now, they just screamed how alone I was. My phone buzzed on the couch. Expecting Blake's text, I saw a voice memo instead. My heart lifted, maybe a sweet note, like he used to send during our long-distance days. I hit play without checking. Blake's voice filled the room, but it was wrong, too relaxed, warm in a way he hadn't been with me in months. "Hey, Meredith," he said, and my heart froze. His sister. This wasn't for me. I should have stopped it, pretended I never heard. But his casual tone glued me in place. "I've been thinking about what you said," Blake went on, traffic humming behind him, probably walking to a bar. "About Demi." My name twisted my stomach. What had Meredith said? What were they talking about? "You're right," he said, voice heavy with resignation. My hands shook. "She's not who I thought when I proposed, or when we moved in." My book slipped, hitting the floor softly. "Don't get me wrong," Blake continued, oblivious to how his words ripped me apart. "She's sweet, tries so hard to please me. It's almost pathetic. But that's the problem, she's pathetic. No spine, no opinions. Like living with a ghost." A ghost. That's what he called me. "Remember her in college?" His voice turned wistful, and I wanted to scream. So confident, arguing with professors, calling me out. I loved that. Tears streamed down my face, hot and quiet. I wanted to stop the memo, end the pain, but I couldn't move. I needed to hear it all. Now, she asks me for everything: what to wear, eat, watch. She's this perfect little housewife, never arguing. And the worst part? I think I made her that way. He paused, sighing. I've been tough on her, work stress, pressure. She just takes it, apologizes for nothing, tiptoes around me, flinches if I move too fast. I made her flinch, Meredith. What does that make me? A man who hits women, I thought, bitter. One who breaks them until they are shadows. But here's the thing, Blake said, his voice cold now. I can't respect someone who won't stand up. I can't love someone so desperate for my approval they change everything. It's disgusting. Disgusting. That's what I was to him. So, yeah, you're right. I need to end it. But how? She's so fragile, so dependent. If I leave, she'll collapse. And there's the apartment, the ring, our plans. He stopped, a door creaking, voices in the background. I'm at Murphy's. Let's talk later. But you're right, I can't marry someone I don't respect. The voice memo ended with a soft beep, echoing in the quiet apartment. I sat frozen, staring at my phone, grappling with what I'd heard. 27 seconds. That's all it took to shatter 5 years of my life, exposing a truth I'd been too scared or blind to face. Blake didn't love me. He didn't respect me. To him, I was pathetic, disgusting, a hollow shell of who I used to be. He planned to leave me, not because he saw his abuse, not to get help, but because I was too weak for him, broken by his own hands. Rage surged through me, unlike anything I'd ever felt. It started as a cold knot in my gut, spreading like fire, burning until every part of me demanded justice. He did this. He chipped away at my confidence, my independence, my identity, turning me into the ghost he despised. And now he dared to be repulsed by what he'd created. I thought of every apology I'd made for things I didn't do, every outfit I changed because he disapproved, every word I swallowed to keep him happy. I thought of the bruises I hid, the excuses I gave, the friends I lost because he didn't like them. I remembered the woman I was, bold, opinionated, strong. She hadn't vanished, I realized. She was buried under months of abuse. Blake's cruel words in that memo were waking her up, clawing her way free. My phone buzzed with Blake's text. Working late. Don't wait up. I stared at it, then replied, okay, love you. But as I sent it, my plan was forming. Blake had made a fatal error. He underestimated the woman he tried to destroy. He thought I was weak, broken beyond repair. He thought I'd crumble when he left, beg him to stay, blame myself for failing him. He didn't know some women don't break, they evolve. And the woman he'd forged through his cruelty was about to show him what she could do. I opened my laptop and dug into Blake's world, his company, co-workers, clients, social media, family, friends. Every piece of the life he cherished, the reputation he polished, the future he planned without me. When he stumbled in at 2 a.m., reeking of alcohol, I was ready. Hey, baby, he mumbled, collapsing into bed where I pretended to sleep. Sorry I'm late. You know how it is. I know exactly how it is, I whispered into my pillow. He was already snoring, oblivious. I stayed awake, staring at the ceiling, refining my plan. By morning, every step was clear, every outcome weighed. Blake thought he'd broken me into something small and disposable. He was about to see how wrong he was. I rose before dawn, moving with a purpose I hadn't felt in months. Blake lay passed out, unaware the woman beside him was no longer the broken thing he meant to discard. Leaving was the hardest part, not because I'd miss him, but because it meant admitting 5 years were built on lies. It meant facing how completely I'd lost myself. But as I quietly packed, a suitcase with a week's clothes, my laptop, documents, and my grandmother's jewelry box, untouched by Blake's criticism, I felt clarity. Everything else could stay, the furniture we chose, the gadgets he demanded, the ring that once held my dreams. They were tainted now, poisoned by our truth. I left the ring on his nightstand, a silent goodbye. No note, just the diamond that once made me feel loved. Now, it was just a pretty lie. My hands were steady as I called a cab, my voice calm, giving the address of the hotel I'd booked with a secret credit card Blake didn't know about. The old me would have felt guilty for hiding it. The new me felt only triumph. As the cab left Riverside Drive, I glanced back at the building that had been my cage for a year. Blake was likely still sleeping off his drinks, clueless that his pathetic fiancé had vanished for good. But leaving was just the start. My hotel room was small but clean, its city view sparking possibilities, not limits. I set up my laptop and began phase 2, research. Blake Hernandez, 28, senior associate at Hartwell & Associates, Columbia grad, son of Taylor and Linda Hernandez, brother to Meredith, a surgeon in Boston. I knew these facts, but now I saw them differently, not as his proud fiancé, but as someone who knew his reputation was his weakness. His career, status, perfect image, those were his treasures. Those were what I'd destroy. I started with his company. Hartwell & Associates boasted integrity and family values, their website flashing happy employee photos and a strict no-tolerance policy for harassment and abuse. Perfect. I spent the morning writing emails, not emotional outbursts, but sharp, professional letters showing a man whose private actions betrayed his company's values. The first email went to Blake's boss, Catherine Walsh, whose LinkedIn showed her at a domestic violence charity run with her family. Dear Ms. Walsh. I'm Demi Sebastian, Blake Hernandez's former fiancé. I'm writing about behavior that clashes with Hartwell & Associates' values of integrity. For a year, Blake has shown a pattern of psychological and physical abuse toward me, worsening recently. I have photos of injuries and recordings of threats. I know personal matters don't always affect work, but Blake represents your company. I felt you should know. I'm not asking for action, just sharing facts about someone in client relations. I trust you'll handle this discreetly and seriously. Sincerely, Demi Sebastian. I attached a photo, bruises on my wrist from that first accident. I'd taken it for my own peace of mind, never thinking I'd use it. But the old me was wiser than I'd realized. The second email went to HR, copied to senior partners I found online. The third hit Blake's prized client, a family foundation supporting women's shelters. By noon, I'd sent 12 precise emails to Blake's work circle. Not too many to seem vengeful, but enough to spark whispers. Questions would come. His reputation would start to fracture. I wasn't done. Not by a long shot. Phase 3 was social media, needing a careful touch. Blake's LinkedIn, Instagram, and Facebook screamed success and joy, photos of us at events, our Napa trip, posts about his promotion and our engagement. A direct attack would make me look bitter. Instead, I started a quiet truth campaign to chip away at his perfect image. I updated my profiles, switched engaged to single, removed Blake from photos, and posted, "Sometimes walking away is the strongest move." Within an hour, comments flooded in. Friends who'd noticed my change, family who never liked Blake, old classmates who knew the bold me. "You okay, honey?" My cousin Emma wrote. "I'm here for you." "Proud of you for choosing yourself," my NYU roommate added. "You deserve better." "About time," Luna commented, her relief clear even online. I replied with grace, never naming Blake, never spilling details publicly. But the message was obvious. I'd left him, and those closest to me were glad. Blake's friends and family would notice the contrast, my posts filled with support, their relief so clear. They'd wonder what they'd missed, what signs they'd ignored. By evening, my phone buzzed non-stop with calls and texts from people who saw my posts. I answered some, ignored others, shaping responses to show a woman who'd found strength to escape a bad situation. "I'm okay," I told my sister when she called, her voice tight. "Better than I've been in ages." "What happened, Demi? You seemed happy with him." "I thought I was," I said, letting sadness slip in. "But sometimes control feels like love. You don't see how small you've become until you breathe free again." She paused. "Did he hurt you?" "Not in ways that scar visibly," I said carefully. "But yes, he hurt me." "I'm so sorry," she said. "I should have seen." "No," I cut in. "This is on him, not you." And now it's done. But it was far from done. As night settled, I waited in my hotel room. Blake had found the ring by now. He'd called, texted, maybe even checked my office. He'd be confused, then mad, then relieved, thinking I'd made his breakup easy. He had no clue what was coming. At 11:47 p.m., my phone rang, Blake's name on the screen. I let it go to voicemail. His message was predictable, fake concern laced with annoyance that I dared to disrupt him. "Demi, what the hell? You're gone, the ring's on the nightstand, and you won't answer. I know we've had issues, but this is nuts. Call me back. We can fix this. We always do. We always do." As if fixing meant me apologizing, changing, shrinking to fit his mold. I deleted the voicemail. 20 minutes later, he called again. I answered. "Demi, thank God. Where are you? You okay?" His voice was higher, panicked. The emails were hitting their mark. "I'm fine, Blake," I said, calm and steady. "Better than in months." "What's going on? Why'd you leave?" "Why are my co-workers calling, asking about?" He stopped. "Asking about what?" I said, voice sweet. "You know," he snapped, his familiar edge returning. "What did you tell them, Demi?" "The truth." Silence hung heavy. I could almost hear him calculating how much I knew, how much damage I could do. "The truth," he said, slipping into his charming tone, the one that once melted me. "Baby, you're upset, I get it. We've been stressed. But aren't you being a bit dramatic?" "Dramatic?" I echoed, his go-to word for my unapproved feelings. Am I dramatic, Blake? Or just honest? Honest about what? We had fights, sure, but every couple. You hit me, I said, voice quiet but sharp. Silence, longer now. That was an accident, he said finally. You know it was. I'd never. Which time? I cut in. When you grabbed my wrist and left bruises. When your elbow accidentally hit my ribs. Or when you backhanded my face. I have photos, Blake, a time-stamped. And recordings. A lie, but he didn't know. His voice shook with fear. Recordings of what? Of you. The things you say when you think I'm too broken to fight back. Like that voice memo. But I wasn't ready to reveal it yet. Look, he said, scrambling. I'm not perfect. Work's been insane, the pressure, I've messed up. But I love you, Demi. We can fix this. I'll get help. What? Therapy? Promises to change? More apologies? My laugh was sharp. I've heard this before, Blake. I'm done with your reruns. So what? You're going to ruin my career over a breakup? That's crazy, Demi. That's what? I cut in as he faltered. That's not you, he said, voice softening, almost begging. You're not cruel or vengeful. You're better than this. You're right, I said. The woman you lived with this past year wasn't cruel. She was pathetic, desperate, broken down until even you were disgusted by her. His sharp breath told me he feared I'd heard the voice memo. But here's the thing, Blake, I went on. That's not who I am. That's who you made me. Now that I remember my real self, I'm ready to make you face the consequences. Demi, please. Good night, Blake. Don't bother looking for me. I'm somewhere safe, somewhere you'll never guess, where I can finally think clearly. I hung up, blocked his number, and opened my laptop for Phase 4. Morning brought the chaos I'd planned. 17 missed calls from Blake's cell, office, even his parents' line. He'd dragged his family into this, his panic was growing. But the Betrayal win was on LinkedIn. A company post tagged Blake in a team photo, celebrating colleagues who live Hartwell's values. His face was cropped out, a subtle but clear sign. I brewed coffee in the hotel's kitchenette, sat back, and watched the chaos unfold. By 10 a.m., Blake was calling from a new number. I let it go to voicemail, listening to his frantic pleas. Demi, I know you're hearing this. Catherine Walsh called me in today. I'm on administrative leave pending an investigation. An investigation. Do you get what this means for my career? I got it perfectly. My plan was working. His next message was furious. This is insane. You can't destroy my life over a breakup. I have rights, Demi. I have a reputation to protect. The irony hit hard. Blake, who'd spent months tearing me apart, was mad that I dared touch his precious image. The third message shifted. His voice softened, echoing the college boy I'd loved. Please, Demi. I know I hurt you. I'm so sorry. But this could ruin everything I've built. Can't we talk? Work it out like adults? Like adults? As if hitting me was mature. As if breaking me down was reasonable. I deleted his messages and checked my email. The responses were perfect. Catherine Walsh thanked me for my email, stressing Hartwell's serious stance on such claims. HR acknowledged my complaint, asking for more evidence. The best came from Dr. Sarah Martinez, the Family Foundation's director. She was shocked, disappointed, and reconsidering their partnership with Blake and Hartwell. His prized client was slipping away. I spent the morning calling mutual friends, framing the breakup carefully. Blake and I are done, I told Marcus, his old roommate. I'm okay, but I wanted to give you a heads up since you're close. He's been off lately. Off how? Marcus asked, concerned. Work stress, maybe more, I said vaguely. He's not himself. I hope he gets help. It was subtle brilliance, or no accusations, just concern that would make Marcus question Blake's rants about his crazy ex. I had similar talks with 3 other friends, planting doubts without overstepping. By afternoon, my social media post about walking away had exploded, 200+ comments and shares. Friends and family shared their own stories of escaping toxicity. The support was real, overwhelming, and a sharp contrast to Blake's silent online presence. His usual posts, work wins, investment tips, curated success, were gone. He was likely too busy with the fallout or told by lawyers to stay quiet. That thought made me grin. If Blake had lawyers, he knew he was in deep. He was scared. Good. At 3 p.m., my phone rang, Greenwich, Connecticut. Blake's parents. I answered on the 4th ring. Demi, it's Linda Hernandez, his mother said, her voice tight, polite but strained. I hope it's okay I called. Blake gave me your number. Of course, Mrs. Hernandez. How are you? I've been better, she admitted. Blake told us about your engagement ending. Yes, I said simply. I'm sorry you heard this way. He mentioned some misunderstandings that might hurt his job. Misunderstandings. Typical Blake. I don't know what he told you, I said carefully. But there's no misunderstanding. I've just been honest about what happened. Silence stretched. Linda Hernandez was sharp. I'd always admired her in our past meetings. Married to a top lawyer, mother to 2 high achievers, she could read subtext. Demi, she said softly, did my son hurt you? The question hung heavy. I could lie, shield Blake's family ties. The old me might have. But that me was gone. Yes, I whispered. He did. Her sharp breath crackled through the phone, followed by silence. I'm so sorry, she said finally. I had no idea. He always spoke of you with such love. I'm sure he did, I said, meaning it. Blake probably thought he loved me, in his warped way. But love that demanded control, that punished, that erased me bit by bit, that wasn't love. What can I do? Linda asked. How can I help? Her question stunned me. I'd braced for excuses, defense of her son. Instead, she offered support. Don't excuse him, I said. Don't let him say it's my fault or just work stress. He chose to hurt me. If he faces no consequences, he'll hurt someone else. You're right, she said, voice firm. We raised him better than this. After we hung up, I sat in my hotel room, feeling something new, validation. Blake's own mother believed me, held him accountable. It was more than I'd hoped. But the day wasn't done. At 6 p.m., a text came from an unknown number. We need to talk. Meet me at Café Luna, 42nd Street. 1 hour. Alone. Meredith. Meredith, Blake's sister. I stared at the message, weighing risks. Meeting her could be a trap, her trying to protect Blake, to talk me down. But it could also be a chance. She'd heard his voice memo, knew things about him I didn't. If I played it smart, she could become an ally. I grabbed my coat and left. Café Luna buzzed with after-work crowds, coffee scent thick in the air. I spotted Meredith in a corner booth, her green eyes like Blake's but softer, filled with worry. She clutched her coffee cup like a lifeline. She stood as I approached, tears in her eyes. Demi, thank you for coming. I wasn't sure you would. I slid into the booth, studying her. Blake sent you, didn't he? To get me to back off. Meredith's laugh was sharp, bitter. Blake doesn't know I'm here. He'd disown me if he did. She sipped her coffee, hands trembling. I'm here to apologize. Big time. This threw me. I'd braced for manipulation, not remorse. For what? I asked cautiously. For not speaking up sooner. For not seeing what he was doing to you. And she paused, tears spilling. For telling him to leave you instead of pushing him to get help. My blood chilled. She'd been part of those talks, advising Blake to end it. But her words hinted at something unexpected. What do you mean? Meredith set her cup down, hands shaking. For months, Blake called me, complaining about you, how you'd changed, become clingy, needy, and she swallowed. Pathetic. Her words stung, echoing the voice memo. Hearing them from his sister hurt worse. At first, I said relationships have rough spots, she continued. Maybe you were adjusting to living together. Be patient, I told him. But he kept complaining, and I started buying his story. She met my eyes, guilt raw in her gaze. I told him if he was so unhappy, he should leave. Life's too short for a bad relationship. I thought you two just didn't fit anymore. I thought you'd changed. But I pressed, sensing more. Then I saw you at Mom and Dad's anniversary party last month. Remember? I did. Blake had criticized my dress, my words, the whole drive there. I'd arrived tiptoeing, terrified of sparking his anger. You were so quiet, Meredith said. So small. You barely spoke unless asked, and even then, you looked to Blake for approval. When he snapped at you for spilling wine. It was an accident, I said, old instincts kicking in. I know, she said firmly. But the way he spoke, the way you flinched, Demi, you never flinched before. You were so bold, standing up to anyone, calling out nonsense. That night, you looked scared. Meredith paused, dabbing her eyes with a napkin. I couldn't shake that night, how different you seemed, how scared. I kept recalling Blake interrupting you, correcting pointless details, making snide remarks about your looks or opinions that seemed harmless but were cruel. That word lingered, heavy with truth. I called him the next day, she went on. I said I was worried about you, that maybe something deeper was wrong, that your change wasn't just incompatibility but a sign of trouble in your relationship. What did he say? Her face tightened. He got mad, really mad. Said I didn't get it, only saw one side. He called you manipulative, said you played the victim for sympathy, that you were turning his family against him. A chill hit me. Even when his sister questioned him, Blake doubled down, making me the villain. But his defensiveness showed me the truth, Meredith said. I'm a doctor, Demi. I see abuse signs in my patients' families constantly. I realized Blake was breaking you down, piece by piece. She touched my hand softly. I'm sorry I didn't see it sooner. Sorry I didn't act. Sorry I told him to leave you instead of pushing him to get help for whatever made him hurt you. I stared, processing her words. Blake's sister saw the abuse, confronted him, and he'd called me manipulative. There's more, I said quietly. Something you need to hear. I played the voice memo Blake accidentally sent me. Meredith paled as his cruel words spilled out, his disgust at what he'd made me, his plan to leave because I wasn't strong enough. When it finished, she cried openly. God, Demi, I'm so sorry. I didn't know he spoke about you like that. Last week, he made it sound like you were just drifting apart, like it was mutual. He never called you pathetic. But you did tell him to leave me, I said, not accusing, just stating. Yes, she admitted. Not because I thought you were the issue. I said if he couldn't love and respect you properly, he should let you go so you could find someone who would. I thought it'd give you a chance to heal, to be yourself again. I searched her face for lies but found only guilt and anger, at Blake and herself. Why tell me this? I asked. Because what you're doing, exposing him, ensuring consequences, it's right. Blake always charms his way out of trouble, blaming others. But not this time. You have evidence, witnesses, your own voice refusing to stay silent. She leaned closer, eyes fierce. I want to help. I want him to face real consequences, not just job loss, but realizing his wrecked lives, become someone our parents didn't raise. How? I asked. She hesitated, then pulled out her phone. Blake doesn't know, but I've recorded our calls for a month, ever since I suspected what was happening. My heart raced. Recordings? As a mandated reporter, she said, I document suspected abuse. I recorded our talks as evidence, in case you needed proof of who he really is. She showed me audio files, dated and labeled with Blake's name. Hours of him talking about you, your relationship, his actions, things he'd never say publicly, things that reveal him. I stared, barely believing it. You'd share those? More than that, she said firmly. I'd testify if needed, go on record about what I've seen and heard. I love my brother, but what he did to you is unforgivable. If I don't speak up, he'll hurt someone else. Tears stung my eyes, not from pain, but relief. I wasn't alone. Blake's sister stood with me, ready to ensure he faced justice. There's more, Meredith said softly. About Blake's past. I looked up, waiting. You weren't the first, she whispered. In college, he dated Rebecca for a year. Toward the end, she got quiet, withdrawn. She dumped him suddenly, wouldn't say why. We thought she was dramatic, maybe cheating. My blood chilled. But now? I asked. Now, I think Blake's been doing this for years, she said. He finds strong women, breaks them down until they are shadows, then discards them when he's bored for someone new. The truth hit hard. I wasn't his first victim. There were others, and without stopping him, there'd be more. I tried finding Rebecca, Meredith added, to ask if she'd talk. But she's gone, off social media, changed her name, moved across the country. Like she's erasing who she was. Or hiding from a man who'd destroyed her completely. We have to stop him, I said, my voice stronger than it had been in ages. Meredith nodded. I know. And I have an idea. She leaned closer, voice low despite the cafe's noise. Blake's company isn't just looking into your complaint. There have been other issues, rumors about how he treats female colleagues, questions about his behavior at work events. Your email was the push they needed to act. How do you know? A friend from med school is married to a Hartwell partner. She's told me about the whispers, the concerns piling up for months. Blake thought he was slick, but he wasn't as careful as he believed. This was more than I'd hoped. Blake wasn't just answering for what he did to me, he was facing fallout for a pattern, maybe years long. What do you need from me? I asked. Keep speaking out, Meredith said. Keep refusing to stay quiet. When the time comes for witnesses or evidence in court, be ready to tell your story. You'll stand with me? I'll stand with you, she said firmly. Blake's my brother, but you're the victim. I won't let him ruin another woman's life because I stayed silent. We sat quietly, the weight of our plan settling in. He'll be livid when he knows you're helping me, I said. Meredith's smile was tight. Let him be. I've made excuses for Blake too long, blaming stress or immaturity. But he's dangerous, hurting people and blaming them for it. She stood, grabbing her coat and purse. I'll send the recordings tonight, she said. And I'll contact college friends, old co-workers, anyone who might have seen this pattern. Meredith, I called as she turned. Thank you. For believing me, helping me, seeing me. Her eyes teared up. I should have seen you sooner, she said. I should have protected you. But I'll make sure Blake never hurts anyone like this again. After she left, I lingered in the cafe, processing. Blake's sister was against him. His company was digging into a pattern, not just my complaint. Recordings exposed his true self, witnesses saw the signs. My web was growing, tighter, inescapable. But I wasn't finished. I opened my phone and drafted an email to Rebecca, Blake's college girlfriend. Meredith couldn't find her, but I had resources and drive she didn't. I sensed Rebecca had been waiting years for someone to ask the right questions. Blake thought he could break women and walk away untouched. He thought we'd stay quiet, broken, hidden. He was so wrong. 3 days later, Blake's world crumbled faster. I woke to 17 missed calls and 43 texts from unknown numbers, not Blake, but others. Word was spreading, sides forming. I returned Catherine Walsh's call from Hartwell first. Miss Sebastian, she said warmly, thanks for taking my call. I'm updating you on our investigation into Mr. Hernandez. I sat up, heart pounding. Go ahead. Based on your complaint and others, we've terminated Mr. Hernandez's employment, effective immediately. We've also reported findings to authorities, as some allegations suggest criminal behavior. Criminal behavior. The words chilled me, but satisfaction surged. Blake was facing real consequences. Your courage, Catherine added, inspired other women to speak. Without you, we might not have uncovered the extent of his misconduct. Other women? I asked. More than one? I can't share details, but they show a pattern of a man using charm and position to manipulate and control women. Your experience wasn't unique. I hung up, stunned. I'd known Blake likely had other victims, but confirmation hit differently. His abuse wasn't personal, it was his method, his choice. Next was Detective Demi Santos, NYPD Special Victims Unit. Miss Sebastian, you've alleged domestic violence and psychological abuse by Blake Hernandez. I'd like to meet to discuss formal charges. Formal charges? My hands shook, not with fear, but excitement. Yes, I said firmly. I want that. We set a meeting for the next day. Santos noted 2 other women had filed similar complaints. Blake's house of cards was collapsing fast. The best call came from a California number. Is this Demi Sebastian? A soft, hesitant voice asked, familiar somehow. Yes, this is Demi. I'm Rebecca Martinez, formerly Rebecca Walsh. I changed my name after college. I got your email. My heart stopped. Rebecca, Blake's college girlfriend, who'd vanished completely. Rebecca, I breathed. Thank you for calling. I wasn't sure you would. I almost didn't, she said. For 8 years, I've tried to erase Blake Hernandez. But your email, describing what he did to you, what he did to me, her voice cracked. I couldn't stay quiet anymore. We talked for 2 hours. Her story mirrored mine, the slow loss of confidence, criticism masked as care, isolation, control, and finally, violence. He broke my arm, Rebecca whispered. He called it an accident, said I fell down the stairs. But I knew he pushed me. I knew staying would only make it worse. Why didn't you report it? I asked gently. I was 21, scared, and thought it was my fault, she said. He was charming, popular, from a good family. I was just a scholarship kid from the wrong side of town. Who'd believe me? I believe you, I said. And I think others will too. Rebecca paused, then said, You think we can stop him? We are already stopping him, I said. He's lost his job, he's under investigation, his reputation's in tatters. But most importantly, we are exposing who he really is. His next target won't be fooled. I want to help, Rebecca said firmly. I'll testify, give a statement, anything. I've hidden for 8 years, but I'm done being scared. I'm done letting him win. By week's end, Blake's world was in ruins. A local news blog ran a story: investment firm fires employee after multiple domestic violence allegations. It was careful, avoiding libel, but clear: a successful man hid a pattern of cruelty. It noted multiple women coming forward, criminal charges pending, and an ongoing investigation. Blake's LinkedIn vanished, his Instagram went private, his Facebook disappeared. The worst blow came unexpectedly, from his parents. Meredith and I were having coffee when her mom called. "Mom," Meredith answered, putting it on speaker at my nod. "What's wrong?" "We've kicked Blake out," Linda Hernandez said, voice heavy. "We can't have him here after what we've learned." "What do you mean?" Meredith asked, though her eyes showed she knew. "We hired a private investigator," Linda said. "After Demi's story, we had to know if our son could really," and she stopped, unable to finish. There were others, Meredith, not just Rebecca and Demi. At least 3 more women, maybe others. Unfiled police reports, hospital records with shaky excuses, restraining orders dropped after Blake's lawyers stepped in. My stomach churned. 5 women, maybe more. Blake had been destroying lives for nearly a decade, evading consequences because his victims were too scared, isolated, or broken to fight. "There's more," Linda added. "Missing money, credit cards in other people's names." Blake wasn't just abusing women, he was stealing from them. Financial abuse. Another piece of his control puzzle I hadn't seen. Isolate them emotionally, then trap them financially. "We are cutting him off," Linda said, voice firm. "No money, no support, no excuses. We are starting a foundation in Demi's honor." I froze. "Demi?" "Sorry," Linda said. "In Demi's honor, Rebecca's, and all the women we may never know. It'll fund shelters and legal aid for abuse survivors." Tears rolled down my face. Blake's parents weren't just holding him accountable, they were helping his victims and preventing future abuse. "Mom," Meredith said softly, "I'm proud of you. This can't be easy." "It's not," Linda said. "But it's right. We failed those women by raising a son like this. We owe it to them to make things right." After the call, Meredith and I sat quietly. "He's alone now," she said. "No job, no family, no friends. His reputation's gone, he faces charges, and everyone he hurt is speaking up." "Good," I said, meaning it. "He deserves to feel as powerless as he made us feel." But this wasn't just revenge anymore. It was a reckoning, for Blake in a system that let him thrive unchecked. On Monday, Detective Santos called. "We've arrested Blake Hernandez," she said bluntly. "Charges include assault, battery, stalking, and financial fraud. Bail's set at $500,000. "Will he make bail?" I asked. "Doubtful. His assets are frozen, and his family won't pay. He'll stay in custody until trial." Blake, once untouchable, was now powerless in a cell. The man who made me feel small and afraid was the one trapped now. 3 days later, a letter arrived from my old address, Blake, writing from jail. "Demi. I know you don't want to hear from me, but please listen. I never meant to hurt you like this. In here, I've realized I was sick, stress, pressure, control turned me into someone I hate. I can't undo what I did to you, Rebecca, the others. I can't erase the pain or damage. But I'm sorry. Truly sorry. I don't expect forgiveness, visits, or a reply. I just need you to know you were right to leave, to speak, to make me face consequences. You saved yourself and likely others. You're stronger than I realized. I'm sorry it took losing everything to see that. I hope you find peace, heal, and become the woman you were before I broke you. I'm sorry, Blake. I read it 3 times, searching for manipulation or hidden blame. But it seemed genuine, remorse, accountability, no excuses. It didn't erase the pain. It didn't wipe away the months of abuse or the trauma Blake caused. But his letter gave me something unexpected: closure. Blake finally saw what he'd done. He saw me as a person, not something to control. And he was facing the consequences. I folded the letter and tucked it into my desk drawer, not as a keepsake, but as proof. Abusers could change, could own their actions. Too late for me, Rebecca, and the other women he hurt. But if he meant those words, maybe he could become someone who'd never harm another woman. 6 months later, I stood in my new apartment's bathroom, staring at my reflection. The woman looking back wasn't broken, she was stronger than I ever thought possible. My hair was shorter, styled to boost my confidence. My eyes shone, free of fear or doubt. The bruises were gone, and the deeper, invisible scars were healing. This apartment was mine alone. I bought it with settlement money from Blake's family, despite my hesitation. Linda Hernandez insisted it was the least they could do, and I accepted to rebuild my life. It was a cozy Brooklyn 1-bedroom with brick walls and big windows letting in golden light. Every chair, picture, and detail was my choice, reflecting me. For the first time in years, I lived in a space that was truly mine. My phone buzzed. Luna, ready for tonight? So proud of you. Tonight was the launch of the Linda Hernandez Foundation for Domestic Violence Survivors, created in honor of Blake's victims. I was invited to speak at their first fundraising dinner, to share my story and highlight the hidden signs of abuse. The old me would have panicked at speaking about such pain publicly. But this me, the one who'd reclaimed her voice, trusted her instincts, and found her strength, was eager. I'd worked with Dr. Jennifer Walsh, no relation to Blake's ex, in therapy for months, unraveling Blake's psychological damage. It was grueling, tougher than anything, but worth every moment. Trauma doesn't shape you, Dr. Walsh said early on. How you heal, how you grow, how you help others, that's what defines you.